What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Followers of the Force Live here on Wednesday night. Gonna be talking some news with Jason. How are you, Jason? Haven't spoken to you in a while.
I'm good. Has it
Awesome.
been long? Yeah, I
To
guess
me, a
so.
long time at this point is like a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
You know, time is what is time anymore? I don't know.
It's a flat circle. That's what they
It,
said on True Detective.
there you go. Then it's a flat circle, and it means
But that,
absolutely nothing.
yeah.
Um, but anyway, guys, today we're gonna be running through some news stories. As you know, we once upon a time we did a bi-weekly news show on Wednesdays, uh, and we're gonna start doing those again because stuff is starting to happen. We just had Obi-Wan. We're gearing up for Andor, which we're gonna talk about here in a little bit. We're having some novels come out, so a lot of exciting stuff. But let's
Yeah, we
just
kind of
get
up on the news because there was no news for a
yeah.
while.
There was no news for a while. Then Celebration happened. They dumped a lot of news, and then
Right.
we kind of talked about it on Words Between Worlds, but not really. So this is giving us a chance to talk about current news,
Current event.
and
Current
current
Star Wars.
events. There you
Yes.
go. And hopefully we'll keep with this schedule. So our first story of the evening is concerning Reva.
Reva.
And this is a story from Star Wars Newsnet, speaking with the original writer of the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie that was supposed to happen, Stuart Beattie. In his original script, Reva's story was going to be pretty different in terms of how she, became an Inquisitor, who she believed Vader was, all that stuff. It was different. But the biggest difference, now that we've seen how the show ended, and sorry, spoilers if you haven't finished it. I don't know why you're here if you haven't.
Yeah, while you're
Um,
listening to Star Wars live cast and you haven't watched an episode that came out a week ago.
yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Um, but Reva was supposed to die in that original script. And as we know, she didn't. She survived and has become one of the very few Star Wars characters to, you know, not only start as a Jedi, but then become an Inquisitor, hunt down Jedi, do very bad things, and then turn back to the light. So, Jason, first, I want to ask you: would you have preferred Reva to die like the original script for a Obi-Wan Kenobi movie? Um, you know, the movie had her dying. Would you prefer that, or do you like the way that her story, in that regard, ended in Obi-Wan?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, she didn't die, so I'm just sort of getting used to that. I remember watching the episode and not rooting for her to die.
Right.
Uh, you know, I think it would be very. I think stories with her after Obi-Wan and maybe her hooking up. I mean, well, maybe romantically, but not even romantically, but hooking up with like Roken and like getting involved with the path. I think would be interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's some interesting story ideas. The only reason I think, and prefer is not the word. Um, the reason I thought she was going to die was just to kind of close that loop of there being somebody out there who knows that Anakin is Darth Vader, knows where Obi-Wan is,
Right.
knows that at least that Luke and Leia are important to him, and somehow important to I there's a weird thing. I call it sort of the Clark Kent Superman thing,
Mm.
where the audience knows certain things, and so they just assume all the characters can figure it out.
Right.
And I rewatching that episode, she and rewatching that message from Bale. Bale never says who Luke is. I mean, actually, he doesn't even mention him by name. He mentions Owen and he mentions the boy.
Mm-hmm.
But the message is never like, um, you know, I haven't heard from you. I hope you're not dead. If I don't hear from you soon, I'm gonna go to Tatooine and make sure that Anakin Skywalker's son, now Darth Vader, is okay. So
Yeah.
so I don't. So it's kind of one of these things where like the audience knows that Luke is Anakin's son, and clearly Beru and Owen and Ben, Obi-Wan all know. I don't necessarily know that Reva made that connection. I think she just thought that he was important, that the boy was important to Obi-Wan and somehow important to Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And all he was that was sort of all she knew concretely.
Right.
But we the audience know that Luke is, who Luke is, and so
Yeah.
I think we just assume that she knows. Um, so that was kind of the only reason I thought she was going to die, was because just to have one less person in the world that knows that Luke is. Of course, the minute she finds out what Luke's last name is, she's going to put two and two together. But
Yeah.
as far as the way the episode rolled out, I don't think she knows for sure. She might guess, and I'm certain that Obi-Wan and Beru or Owen didn't tell her. It's like, oh, that's Anakin's son. That's why he's so important. So, so really, she only knows that Luke is important to him, and only knows that he's somehow important to Vader.
Right.
But beyond, what was the question?
if if you would have preferred the original script over what we got in the series with Reva's character,
Yeah,
instead of atoning, just sacrificing herself.
I mean, I honestly could have gone either way. I kind of thought she was going to die anyway. Then when she didn't, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really, I wasn't one of these angry fanboys that had to do a 25-minute YouTube video when she lived.
Right.
So, but I just kind of thought I thought she was going to die anyway, because she's a character we haven't seen in Rebels, we haven't seen in the original trilogy, we haven't seen in The Mandalorian. Of course, we might now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the interesting place to put her, if you're going to put her someplace post the Obi-Wan show, I think the most interesting place to put her would be the Ahsoka show. I think that would be more interesting than, say, like, I mean, Andor would be interesting, but they shot Andor like a year ago, so I doubt that she'll show up there. But
Right.
What about you? I'm guessing you're happy she lived.
Yeah. It's a different take. Usually we see these characters die, whether it be because they're straight up evil and it's a lightsaber battle or whatever the case may be, and the character dies. And in other respects, as the original movie script had it happening, was she was going to say that she killed Obi-Wan to save him when she confronts Vader, and then Vader kills her.
Well, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
that's how that was supposed to go in the movie version.
That's an interesting thing. I mean, that really becomes kind of. We're kind of glad they didn't do it in a certain aspect, because it becomes more tragic for Vader, because Vader could have had all this information, but in his need to punish her, he kills her.
Right.
And so dies the information about Luke and where Obi-Wan is and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That would have been interesting. I don't know if I prefer it to what happened.
Yeah.
It's a theory, but
Yeah.
that is interesting. That's an interesting way to go.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see what happens to somebody, a dark side user or somebody like Reva who was a Jedi and just went to that place for selfish reasons and then lost herself in that place and then had to come back. Um, I want to see what happens to a character like that. Basically, the same argument with Ben Solo. I wanted him to live because I want to see what happens to a character in Star Wars that lives through something like that.
Well,
Um,
Reva
and
would have a completely different experience than somebody like Anakin or Ben Solo, because they were like such high muckety mucks in the Empire and First Order, whereas Reva was an Inquisitor. I don't think a lot of people knew. That would be interesting to come up at a party, I think, for her, but like nobody's like,
yeah,
God, she's an Inquisitor. I mean, unless she's like Obi-Wan and like still tooling around in her old, work uniform. But
yeah.
I will say this: I was a little distracted, and the other reason why I thought she was kind of going to die was she got stabbed, and I like some of these memes that are going around. It's like, apparently you can live after getting stabbed in Star Wars unless you're Qui-Gon.
Yeah, I saw one that was with Qui-Gon, and he was talking to Obi-Wan. He's like, yeah, we've made a lot of advancements in terms of lightsaber wounds. Forgot to tell you, you can get stabbed in the abdomen now. And it's just him standing there like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, it makes you think, because it's like, well, if there had just been like a bacta tank somewhere, I mean, did they have no bacta tanks on Naboo? They couldn't throw them in a bacta tank.
And it's also just because it's the rage. Qui-Gon at that point, I think, was the guy didn't have a rageful bone in his body, and I think by that time he was content with Obi-Wan sort of taking over things, and I think he didn't. Again, it's that need to be alive, and I think at that point, Qui-Gon was so, sure of what he believed the future was going to hold.
That's the Sith thing anyway, is to cling on to life.
Right. And Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are like the furthest from.
Right.
So, but I thought that was an interesting take. I'm glad the show writers went the way they did with it, because it was unexpected, and I really liked that.
I thought she was going to die just because, again, I just thought they needed to close out that loop of somebody knowing who, Again, this is my Clark. I mentioned it at the beginning of this. This is my Clark Kent Superman thing. It's like everybody's like, oh, well, it's so stupid. All he puts on a pair of glasses and nobody knows that he's Superman. And I'm like, well, you have to think about the world. The audience knows that Clark Kent and Superman are the same person.
Right.
But the majority of the people in sort of the Superman universe don't know who the hell Clark Kent is. They know who Superman is.
Yeah.
But they don't know who Clark Kent is. I mean, the people that know Clark Kent know Clark Kent. But like, some average guy living in Jersey doesn't know who Clark Kent is. So
yeah.
So that's why that's my own little, there are certain things that the audience knows that they just assume the characters know, and that's not always necessarily the case. So.
Exactly. All right, now moving on. This is more of a bit of sad news here, but we've got John Williams reportedly retiring after Indiana Jones 5, according to Variety. I mean, he's 90 years old. I don't think I would even want to get out of bed at 90 years old. So the fact that he's been working for so long and still creating amazing music, because most recently he created the Obi-Wan theme.
Which is it's so funny. This is the testament to John Williams. As I saw that it was on the Obi-Wan soundtrack was out, and so I went on to iTunes and started listening to it and listened to listen clearly to the first track, because it's the first track, and that's the Obi-Wan theme John Williams does. Yeah. And then I got distracted at work and turned it off and was doing other stuff, and honestly, like about an hour, maybe hour and a half later, I was just kind of, you know how you kind of just like you're not really singing, but you're just kind of just like humming something. You know, it's like that
Mm-hmm.
hum sing kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I realized it's like first I was like, what is that? And then I stopped. Like, oh my god, that's the Obi-Wan song. That's the Obi-Wan theme. Like I don't know what the I don't know what it is about John Williams that like themes like because I felt the same way when I first saw The Force Awakens and I heard the Rey theme
Yeah.
and I was like and like immediately every time I've heard it since it's like that's the Rey theme and like it's such a testament to John Williams. I mean, look, he's been doing this what since the '60s. He's been composing
I think
like
so.
because I know that like the Lost in Space TV show he wrote the theme for, like the original one from this like the mid '60s.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been doing it at least since then. And I mean, take Star Wars out of it. Just the numerous themes that like you can the Jaws theme. Everybody does the Jaws theme.
Yeah.
Today is the anniversary of the death of Alex Kittner in Jaws. He was the little boy that when the mayor was told to close the beaches, they didn't, and little Alex Kittner didn't make it. So.
Yeah. I saw a very gruesome picture
Yeah,
online.
for some reason
It's
that's going
like,
on.
jeez.
I saw it too. I put it on my Facebook. I thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh, justice for
Oh my
Alex.
god.
But no, but like just think about the Jaws theme. Like it's
Yeah.
so ingrained. There's people that know the Jaws. My 4-year-old nephew knows the Jaws theme, but has clearly never seen Jaws. So, so you have Jaws, you have Superman, you have Raiders, you have Jurassic Park. I mean, just like these are like iconic themes. I mean, I love Michael Giacchino. I couldn't hum one of the themes from one of his movies. I know Rachel could, but but like I couldn't like hum, the main theme of Star Trek 2009 or
Oh, I
Rogue
can.
One. Okay,
I
okay.
can. Yeah. Yeah. Just
But there's very,
because.
but there's very few. I think probably Danny Elfman's the only one that's come close. Like I know the Spider-Man one, and I know
Yeah.
the Batman one, the original '89 Batman one.
Yeah.
But you know, the bench for John Williams is so deep. So he's 90. That's a good run. That's and he's walking away. He's like, yeah, I'll do one
Yeah.
more. I'll do one more. I do love. I do love it. He's like, well, I guess I'll finish this with Harrison. If this is Harrison's last Indiana Jones, I guess this will be
Yeah.
my last score. And I remember when The Force Awakens comes out, it was one of the behind the scenes things, and he said, well, this is just give me a reason to live. And they were like, why? He's like, well, I want to see how these movies end. I don't want somebody else writing Rey's theme, so
Yeah.
I want to keep. So it was like a big deal for him to finish the sequel trilogy.
That's a funny thing that you mentioned because that's sort of the same point that Liam Neeson made when he's like, well, I don't want anybody else playing Qui-Gon Jinn, so I want to do it, and I want to pay respect to George for creating this, entire world. And of course, he said Ewan McGregor was a pal. So it's funny how everybody who has worked in some capacity in Star Wars feels such ownership over what they've done.
Oh
That
yeah,
if the opportunity comes about, they want to continue to do it.
yeah,
So that's really cool.
yeah.
Um,
Of course, I will say this: I will believe that there's an Indiana Jones 5 when I see it. They only been talking about making this movie since Lucasfilm was bought by Disney. I know supposedly they made one, but until I'm like sitting in the theater and it's about to come on, I'm kind of not believing it's a real movie.
I feel that way with the next theatrical Star Wars movie. I feel that way with many DC movies. I feel that way with at this point, I think, but this is for a whole nother conversation. I think you scrap or reshoot entirely the Flash movie with somebody else, because that's an entire mess.
Oh yeah,
And it's unfortunate that Michael Keaton is attached to it, and so is I forget the actress who's playing Supergirl.
yeah.
But it's
The
like,
The
Yeah.
only reason that they probably won't is that they reshot Justice League and it didn't do any better in the box office if they had just dumped the Zack Snyder, like a really bad cut of the Zack Snyder version.
Right.
So they're probably like, why should we spend an extra $150 million on reshooting a movie if we're not going to get that back? So
Right.
that might be the only reason they're not going to do it. I think they should
Yeah.
just dump it on HBO Max and be done with it and say, yeah, in August you can watch the Flash movie. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Just like don't even market it at this point. Like
Yeah, just
it
like
just feels so like
yeah.
dirty and wrong
Well,
to
like
even.
before it even got bad, but I watched when it came on HBO Max. I watched um the new Fantastic Beasts movie,
Mm,
and he's in quite a bit of it.
yeah.
And I'm kind of like it really does take you out. I mean, and again, this was just from the stuff that happened a couple months ago. This isn't even like the
Yeah.
news in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's
yeah,
craziness. But at the end of the day, John Williams has given us like she's years and years and years and years of iconic scores to some of our favorite movies,
and
and
then and just really like great scores to like movies you like. Rachel and I watched JFK. I think probably like 6-7 months ago,
mm,
and we were both like the movie was but like we were both like texting back and forth, just like John Williams didn't have to go this hard on. He went like you're like, and then the same. If you've ever seen Catch Me If You Can,
yeah,
like that's a great score, and it's completely different from all. It's like it's like super like 60s swingy and stuff. You wouldn't expect
mm,
that from the guy that wrote Jurassic Park
right,
theme. So yeah, since that movie's never
crazy.
coming out, John Williams will live forever because that movie's never coming out. So we're in shape.
Oh man. Well, I don't have a graphic for this because, well, I thought I had the book by me, but I don't, unfortunately.
Mm.
However, Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher is available now. I read it in 3 days. There's a spoiler-filled review up on the podcast feed right now if you guys want to go listen to it, if you don't care about spoilers, or if you've already finished the book. Um, it is one of those stories that gives you, if you've wanted to get stories with Luke between episodes 6 and 7, this is the book for you. There's a ton of Luke Skywalker in this. There's a ton of Luke and Lando together. There are new characters, new villains, and you get a lot with Rey's parents and Rey herself, because she's obviously with them. Um, but it is one of those books that it grabs you from the beginning. Some parts may take you a little bit to get through, more than others, because some of it is very fast paced, and some of it is takes its time. But what Adam Christopher did with it was really, really awesome, in terms of making what happened in episode 9 mattering that much more when you read this story. Because now you have spent time with Rey's parents, you know where they came from, you know what their goal was, you know what Luke and Lando were trying to do during that search for the Wayfinders and Ochi of Bastoon and all that stuff. There's a lot more going on there. And it was really fun to read. And the writing for Lando was amazing. And this book has probably my favorite new Star Wars character, um, in both in publishing, and if we ever saw this character in live action, I would lose it, because all I'll say is it's what I hope happens in a way with Reva. Um, and I'll just leave it at that. Super interesting character, and the villain, even more so. Very interesting idea that makes total sense for the story they're telling. And if you like the more force centric supernatural side of Star Wars, you'll love it too. So that is my quick spoiler free review of the book. Jason, do you plan on getting the audiobook and reading it, or will you just go to Spark Notes and be like, all right, I got the gist of it?
I mean, from what I've heard and what I've read, it sounds like it's super interesting. And just from talking to you a little bit about it and everything, what it sounds like is poor Adam Christopher was like, they were like, hey, write a book about Luke and Lando from before the Rise of Skywalker. And he was like, crap, now I got to make all this random stuff they shoved in Rise of Skywalker make sense. Because so much of Rise of Skywalker feels so random. It's like, why is Lando on this planet? Why does Luke know what wayfinders are? Why, there was like so much like just random coincidence in that movie. And what it sounds like from what I've read and from what you've said is that they're like, oh, no. This is what happened. And this is why everything is where it is when we get there. And I was like, okay, well then I might want to check it out. Cause that, and I'm always just starved for any stories that take place between, between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. And just like, I just want to know what happened. So I'm not going to say I am, but of all of the ones that have come out that I should have read, I might at least use an Audible credit to get the book so that one day, if I ever take a long car ride, I can.
I will say the audiobook, from what I've seen on Twitter, it's about 17 hours long.
So that's a really long car ride I got to take.
It's a really long car ride. But the book, I think, is like 460-something pages. But again, it's a quick read.
Just from listening to seeing people on Twitter, and I'm like, I haven't heard anybody go, "Wow, what a piece of crap that is." So that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
And by the way, good on Adam Christopher. I keep wanting to call him Adam Scott, but that's somebody else. But good on him for like being able to go, okay, well, this random thing that they stuck in, this is why that happened, and this random thing that they stuck in, this is why that happened. Like all of that stuff.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have been saying you can like the book without taking a dig at episode 9, and that's fair. But at the same time, you can't ignore that a lot of the stuff that happened in episode 9, as you said, just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And didn't really jive with the end of episode 8. And what was going on in that movie, or even in episode 7.
I mean, even there's even stuff in The Force Awakens that gets contradicted in 9 just for the sake of I don't even know what. But I kept waiting for the moment where Ben Solo wasn't Han Solo's kid anymore. I kept waiting for that moment.
Yeah, and I will say though, reading the book, episode 9 is much more enjoyable until the part that I don't like.
Well,
once, because Adam Christopher explains much better the whole thing with Rey's father being a clone and how all of that pertains to Rey, and calling Rey Palpatine's granddaughter really doesn't make sense.
Well, it didn't make sense at the time. Still doesn't make sense.
Like, it's okay if her father's a clone and she was born from her father and her mother, she's just the daughter of her parents. I mean, there's no like natural link between
I always
two that way. If it's just a creation of
Rey was Palpatine's niece, which isn't because the clones always referred to each other as brothers,
right?
And all her father was a clone of Palpatine, so Yeah, she's a niece at best.
Yeah,
but
it's just one of those things. Like, and the way it was,
but that
like just
doesn't.
the
But
the
that doesn't
dialogue, I just
like
didn't like it.
that's not like earth shattering information in a movie. It's like, and
Yeah,
you are the niece of Palpatine. It's like,
yeah, it's like Spaceballs.
yeah,
You're my brother's cousin's
yeah,
nephew's former roommate. It's like,
yeah,
all right, dude.
yeah. It's like, granddaughter sounds better than niece.
Yeah.
So, but
Um,
it should have been, you are Palpatine's niece by Mary.
oh man, I would have liked it if it was just, you have his power. You, uh, just I didn't leave it at that. You have his power.
I know
You have the power of
we are
the
we're
emperor.
on the precipice of a tearing apart Rise of Skywalker rabbit hole. Just so you know.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just move on.
Yeah,
If you like the movie, honestly, I'm very happy for you because
yeah,
I really wanted to love it,
super
but
excited for.
unfortunately, I just
But
didn't.
and I will say this: there are things in the movie I really like.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought the all of them going on an adventure together, favorite part of the movie.
Yes, yes,
That was great. That was
yes.
great. Um,
And
all
let's leave
right.
because if we keep going, because I'm
Yeah.
like, because my thing is like, there's a lot of stuff in the movie I like, but and then I'm just like, oh no, we can't
Yeah,
do the
then we just end we use the next half hour just to, completely
yeah,
crap all over the movie.
right.
Alrighty. Next story, and this is more so an anticipation thing. We've got Andor premieres in 63 days. So, Jason,
Yes.
how are you feeling about Andor? What are your I don't want to say what you want to see in the show because I know we've talked about that a bit, but
Well,
after watching Obi-Wan
but
and how
that's
that show was created.
that's the beauty though of this Andor show is that I um I kind of have no. It does like Andor is just. I mean, He's only been in one movie. He doesn't even live till the end of the movie. Spoilers
Mm.
for a 6-year-old movie. Um, so, and I mean, I know so very little about him. So, the only thing he has to like by the end of the series, the only thing he has to have done to not break, canon, which apparently I was something I didn't know everybody was so concerned about, um, is just be alive and be friends with a robot. Like that's the only thing he has to do by the end of the show. So it's kind of a blank slate a little bit, kind of like the Mandalorian, where you know all he has to do is die at the end of Rogue One. As long as that happens, then everybody should be happy except Rachel. But so I kind of don't. I'm excited for it because it's going to be something I haven't seen before, you know.
Yeah.
So that's my level of excitement for it is that I've never seen this before, so so that's where I'm at with it, and it looks cool, and it's going to be, we're not. I mean, as far as I know, we're not going to have a bunch of legacy characters, show up and have to and complicate canon more. It's like, well, how can this happen if Andor met Raditz, before Rogue One? Like, I don't,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My thing with Andor, and it's something that I hope they devote a good amount of time to because it is a 12 episode season and they're making 2 seasons, is I want to see a lot of the political inner workings of the rebellion within the Senate. I want to see that, House of Cards style political thriller for a part of the show. And if I don't get that, that's totally fine. That's my own expectation. But seeing those shots of Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma in the Senate chamber,
yeah,
there's that shot of her. Seems like she was speaking with somebody, and now she's walking away. smiling, and then the smile slowly fades. So you know something's going on there. Uh, you have the Imperials doing their thing in that very white, almost what was that movie that George made, THX 1138?
Yeah.
Very much looking like that aesthetic, and it's just a super intriguing show because while we do know what happens to Cassian, there's so many other things that could happen within the confines of this show and this period that could spark different ideas and different you know stories, because a lot of the characters that he could run into, they may survive and we could see them further down the line. uh, it doesn't all have to be death for everybody. And I think that's bringing it full circle. I think that's one of the reasons why I liked that Reva lived. Not everybody always has to die. So
No.
But 63 days. So
No, I mean that's very cool. I didn't realize. I mean, that's a little more than 2 months, but that's still super cool. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm excited for it the way I was excited about the Mandalorian, because I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the story is. I mean, I know a little bit about Cassian's life before, but only from what's in Rogue One.
Right.
So I we might meet his parents. He might go on an adventure with a sister or something. I don't know. He might have a dog named Indiana. I don't know.
What I think we will see, and similar to what they did with the flashbacks in The Mandalorian, I think we will see, Cassian at, 6, 7, 8 years old, in the fight, and tie it back to Rogue One, where he's like, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. We might see that. We might see the beginning of his involvement in, first with the Separatists, because that is part of his history, according to the Rogue One novel, and then into the rebellion and whatnot. So it's going to be one of those shows that could have a lot of different possibilities, and I think that's the most exciting thing about it, because really anything can happen. Anyone can show up. I don't know. It can really do a lot of things.
I really hope we don't meet a lot of old characters. I mean, I know Jimmy Smith has to deal with the devil and has to be in everything I watch, but I kind of hope we don't see Bale.
Oh, we will. I think he's signed on.
He's the only one that makes sense. I mean, honestly, he's the only legacy character aside from Vader. And I mean, actually, Vader doesn't even make sense. I mean, he's really the only character that we. I mean, aside from Mon Mothma, that we probably would see anyway.
We could see Krennic. We could see. We could see Galen Erso in a way.
Yeah. What I hope that they do is, because really, if you think about it, Cassian has no reason to be in the orbit of like the really high up. Like, the reason he's in the orbits of the really high ups in the Empire in Rogue One is because it has to deal with the Death Star. Like, he didn't even know what he was into, and so I mean, I don't know, but like I kind of imagined a lot of his missions before Rogue One was just like, running guns or freeing people, whatever. Like, I don't think.
I'm saying more just from the purpose of, like, seeing them in meetings, like a quick 5-minute thing there, like, oh, Krennic is doing this at this point. Like, nothing that it's pertaining to what Cassian's doing, because then you're like, okay, how does he not know about him at that point? So I just think we could see, like, just little, hints and references to certain characters. But
the other reason why why we need Rachel here. I mean, clearly the rebellion in Rogue One knows who Saw is, but does Cassian know who Saw? I mean, I think other than he knows.
Heard of him.
I never got the impression that they like knew each other.
No, I think probably has heard of him.
So we
Uh,
won't see Saw
yeah, no,
and that, which is fine.
no, I don't think so. Um, but cool, 63 days. We are on our way. All right, and our last story of the night is about this guy, Taika Waititi. In an interview with The Wrap, when promoting Thor: Love and Thunder, he was asked about his upcoming Star Wars movie, and he says he's still trying to figure out what the story is. So that leads us to this question here. What will Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie be about? And Jason, I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
Uh huh.
What do you think his movie will be about, or the tone, or the however you want to take this question? Because obviously we've got Thor: Love and Thunder coming out next week. We have
Right.
Thor Ragnarok, and the
Yeah.
reason I'm mentioning those two movies is because they're the big, releases similar to Star Wars. He's already said that it's going to be with new characters. He's not going to keep the world small. So, do you have any idea what he might be planning, and do you have any hopes for what his story might be?
Well, I don't know. Because I keep waiting for him to get fired. So this seems to be the thing. Um, I don't know. My only apprehension, and by the way, I love what we do in the shadows. I love
Mm-hmm.
Ragnarok. I love Jojo Rabbit. Um, and Jojo Rabbit is the. I would be more worried about him doing a Star Wars movie if he had just done what we do in the shadows and Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a real seriousness. There's a because those movies are very. I mean, what we do in the shadows is a flat out comedy, so it
Yeah.
makes sense. But Ragnarok, and from what I'm seeing in the trailers for Love and Thunder, that both are very. They seem like they're very joke heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure. As much as I crow about how much I want to see something different in Star Wars, I don't know if I am ready for a like flat out comedy. Like a big jokey kind of comedy.
Yeah.
So that's my concern, and I know with Jojo Rabbit he's capable, and even with episodes of The Mandalorian he's capable of
Yeah.
serious, of taking it seriously. But as far as like what era I don't know. I mean, I would love if sort of if he's if they give him the High Republic to like set up the first movie set in the High Republic,
Mm.
um, just to just because I think just visually it would be to see a lot of that on. It's not gonna be like the pictures we've seen. I mean, it'd probably be you'd be able to trace it back to it, but um, so I hope I hope it's something way before the Star Wars, before the Skywalkers, or way after the Skywalkers, way
Mm-hmm.
after right where like even like Rey has been dead for like 150 years or something like that. Like I would, um, I would be very interested in that. Um, I mean but the rest of it, you know, I don't have a. Those would be my personal preferences. If he was like, so we're making, I don't know, we're making Bosk a Star Wars story. That's what he's doing. I was like, okay, well, I want to see that. That'd be good. But
Well, he joked on Colbert that he's actually doing the Jar Jar Binks story.
you know what?
I
I
wouldn't mind it. I'll watch it.
I think he would be able to. I think he'd be able to pull that off. I think that if you can make Hitler funny, you certainly can make Jar Jar sympathetic.
Yeah, I
I was
would. I would watch the hell out of that.
I was watching the Red Letter media. They did a review of Kenobi, and they didn't trash it, which I was really happy about. Um, but they talked about just sort of George Lucas's directing style and how he's not, and I'm being kind, not very good with actors.
Mm.
So I think to take a character like Jar Jar and give him to Taika Waititi, I think that could be interesting. Do like a Thor Ragnarok thing with Jar Jar. I think that would be. I'd go. I'd go see it. I would really go see it. I might be the only one, but I would be very interested to see.
Honestly, I think you'd be surprised how many people would turn out
Yeah.
because the prequel crowd is
Oh yeah. Well, the
finally
prequel.
having their day.
Has been loud and proud during the whole resurgence of the whole 6 weeks of Kenobi. So
Yeah.
but you know, Jar Jar. My relationship with Jar Jar is at this point is he. I just sort of. I just sort of look past him when I watch the Phantom Menace. Like, I don't hate him, but and again, it's not something that you can blame, Ahmad Best or anything for, but certainly I can certainly blame George.
Listen, I'll say Jar Jar has found a special place in my heart in the past, 20 years now.
Yeah,
Since Attack of the Clones, it's the last time we saw him.
he's in.
Unfortunately,
He's in.
he's in
Revenge.
Aftermath. Oh
He's
yeah, and Sith. Yeah, you're right. At the funeral.
walking around. I mean,
Yeah.
really, George did him dirty, because not only is he, I'm sorry, so obnoxious in the Phantom Menace. Excuse me, but he's the guy that gives the Emperor emergency powers in Attack of the Clones.
Listen, after what we found out yesterday regarding the leader of a country, it's completely believable to me. So,
Well, no, no. I'm not saying it's not that, but of all of the people who are directly or indirectly responsible for the
yeah,
fall of the old republic and the rise of the empire, Jar Jar got a pretty good. He's got a pretty good hold on that.
I'll just say this: I guarantee you, he did not do it because he thought it was the right move. I think if he knew it was coming, he would have been like, "Wait, this is effed beyond
Yeah,
belief."
yeah.
So, I'll give him that benefit of the doubt. But Jar Jar movie, anytime.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got my you got my $15.
A Taika Waititi Jar Jar movie. I totally see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or a Mad Max Fury Road thing with Baru and Owen now after the last. Absolutely would see.
So I think, personally, as we wrap up here, I want him to go into the future with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I want him to give it the tone that he's given Thor in terms of the fun of it. But even he said, I want to make sure that I'm still in that Star Wars wheelhouse because it needs to look and feel a certain way. So
Right.
he's aware of that. And obviously, having directed an episode or two of The Mandalorian, already going to direct one in season 3, he is going to take care of it. And I think he's going to do a great job. And I really hope that we get, because the posters for Love and Thunder have been awesome, a little Star Wars inspired. I don't know if you've seen them. So I'm excited for the posters for his movie. I'm almost sure that he'll be at Celebration next year, just to talk about ideas, or at least just to be there. And I honestly think his movie could be about a very. I think he could go the supernatural way with Star Wars. I really do. I think he will go weird with it, and I think it'll be the kind of weird that is intriguing, not off-putting in any way. Especially if you're in an uncharted time and place in Star Wars. I think that's the most exciting thing for me, or what would be the most exciting thing for me, and I think that's where Ryan Johnson would take it as well. So, super excited. I can't wait to see what he does. Unfortunately, that movie will probably not see it for another, 2 or 3 years.
I mean, he's
Maybe.
not writing it. I mean,
Yeah.
if he finished the script tomorrow, they probably wouldn't be in production until the beginning of 2023.
Yeah. It's
No
gonna be a
way
little bit,
they could get it all done
unfortunately. Yeah.
20, at the end of 2023. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
looking. I would say Christmas of 2024 or summer of 2025 before we see
Yeah.
it.
I'll be nearing 30 at that point.
Uh,
I know. Showing
I'm just
making you not feel too great.
look. This is the thing. This is kind of how I feel now. I'm like, okay, we've had 3 TV shows, Star Wars TV shows. We got Ahsoka coming. We got Andor coming. We got the Acolyte coming. Like,
Disney Plus is taking care of us.
yeah, Disney. We got plenty of shows on Disney Plus.
Yeah, yeah.
Start making some movies again. Let's just make a movie. Let's do Rogue Squadron. Let's call up Patty Jenkins and you know. And I'm like, let's just go back to making Star Wars movies. I don't need one every 2 years, but I need at least one. You know,
Or
Marvel can still make TV shows and movies at the same time. I'm not sure why Lucasfilm can't. So,
or what they can do is release a finale or couple of episodes in the theater and make those the event of
well,
the
yeah, kind
summer
of like
or of the kind of like what they did in Melbourne, I think, for the
what they do with the final episode of Kenobi.
Yeah, I would love that. And I think, honestly, Stranger Things should do that, too. Since those episodes are going to be long.
Yeah, like, the first one's like 2.5 hours. The second one's like 4.5 hours. And I'm like, why not just cut that in half?
Yeah, it's going to be nuts. But that is going to do it for us tonight, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show, watching it live. If you're watching it on the replay, I hope you enjoyed it as well. Make sure to leave your comments about all these stories. Give us your thoughts. And let us know what you think Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie is going to be about. And I guarantee you, you're going to be wrong just as we are. Because nobody knows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, you're absolutely right. Nobody knows because
Taika, even he doesn't know.
He doesn't even know. I know this because I'm staring at the art of books from Mando and the sequel trilogy. There are designers at Lucasfilm working on stuff. Yeah. Like working on droids and working on creatures and things that will probably end up in the movie or a version of them that are going to end up in the movie. So I would say, but probably they don't even know. They're probably like, why am I building Jabba the Hutt's, great grandson if he's not going to be in the movie? But
right.
As long as Jabba the Hutt's grandson is cut, like that weird one that was in the comics.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, again, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, on that scrolling banner on the bottom, we are running a fundraiser right now called What Choice in support of abortion access, benefiting the National Abortion Federation. We're currently sitting at $43,311 raised right now. And also, please, if you can, support the Amidala Initiative for Equality in Texas. That is another very important fundraiser, and a lot of stuff has been going on in the past week and for many, many years. And it's, things are starting to get not great. And just if you can support it, share it. So it's tough out there for everybody. But thank you guys for all your support and for tuning into the shows, tuning into for the live stream on Sunday night, and just all your words of encouragement and support for both campaigns. So thank you so much, and until next week, may the Force be with you always.
Justice for Baru!